Hi guys, this is Allison, and for Block 7, for the genre of fantasy, science fiction, and horror, I have I read The Bone Gap, as well as by Laura Ruby, and The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Now, as far as The Bone Gap goes, I had a little trouble getting into this book. I know it's supposed to be great young adult fiction, however, it just was a little slow for me. Once I started getting into the book, it became a little easier to read, especially with a lot of the imagery in the book. And one of the quotes that I did want to share with you, I have it on Overdrive, so it's on page 133 of Overdrive. I'm not sure what page it's on in the actual book. But it says, "And then the trees blurred as the mare ran faster and faster. At first Ben tried to keep an eye on the path in front of him, but it was too dark and the horse was running too fast. He tried to keep his eyes on the moon, but it blazed too hot and too whitely bright, and it etched its image across his vision. He looked around, but what he saw made no sense. Trees bleeding into clouds, and the clouds parting for winged lions carved from stone, and the stone lions charging down a staircase made of glass, and the glass shattering into fire." The imagery in that one paragraph was just stunning to me. I could see everything. It almost felt like some sort of LSD trip of everything kind of merging and then separating and then merging again. And for me, it was symbolic of a dream state. Also, one of the other big themes in the book, I felt, were the role of women, the role of girls. Not only their places within a family and a community, but within themselves. And the women in this book there's a lot of different characters. There's Ben and Sean's mother, who they consider kind of ditzy. She left, ran off with an orthodontist. You have Petey, who is very strong, very self-assured. And you also have Rosa, who is this mysterious woman who everyone loved, but no one really knew a lot about. And I also feel that within Rosa, she has a self-discovery within herself, too, about who she is and what it means for her to be a woman. So those were some of the highlights for me as far as The Bone Gap. Now, one of the problems I think that could possibly arise is that on one of the pages there's a lot of use of the F word. I don't like that word, so I choose not to say it. But I know a lot of young adults have heard the word, have read the word, and may not have a problem with the word. However, I just think maybe in school it might be a word that may need some beforehand consideration as far as what we tell our students, and maybe making sure that the word does not overwhelm and overshadow the book. So I think that maybe some communication with students might need to be done prior to reading that particular section. Also, the themes for young adults in this book, such as one's looks, and how one's looks are determined by others and then ourselves, our roles in our community based on our looks, because looks are really heavily dealt with in this book. Everything about every person in this book, every character seems to go back to looks, and we can use this in a young adult classroom to maybe fodder some discussion for our students regarding one's looks, and how that's not the only thing about them that is important, and what others think is not necessarily the case. There's just a lot of opportunities here for communication and some critical thinking on how one's peers think of you and how you think of yourself. So those were my thoughts on The Bone Gap. Now, for my second novel, I chose Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. This book was actually published in 1959. It's an old book. I'm not sure how many have read it. However, it is a fantastic book, especially if you're into like goth and horror and those types of novels. This book is very good. This is just such a good ghost story. It is scary. It scared me when I read it. It scared me again when I read it here this week. Both movies are very scary, the versions they have of it. Although the Haunted, it's called The Haunted, and it was made in 1963. It is the best film version of this movie. I suggest if you don't want to take the time to read the book, watch the movie. It is really good. Now, this book, there are a lot of things in this book that, kids might actually be dealing with. Again, their roles in families, their roles in commitments. What commitments do they have, and what commitments do other people put on them? How they feel about themselves, and how their world kind of plays a role in their actions. That's really the best way I can put it. Primarily told, the characters in there: Eleanor, Theodora, Dr. Jonathan Margot, and Luke Sanders. And these characters meet at a place called Hill House that has a notorious reputation for being haunted. The doctor wants to bring people there who have some sort of psychic or PK ability, foretelling, psychic, any sort of paranormal ability. And he also brings along one of the owner's nephews, kind of as a favor to the owner. Now, the house actually ends up being kind of a living entity within the book. It actually becomes its own character. And it's interesting to see how the house as a character actually interacts with the characters, the human characters in the book. And how the themes of freedom and confinement, and do you necessarily need to be confined to be free, run through this book. So it is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful read. I recommend it to anyone. I think as far as for young adults, it would probably be best in a junior or senior level course, primarily because it does deal with some kind of adult themes, and it can get a little deep in some areas, and you just want to make sure that they have a little bit of better understanding. It opens itself up to a wide range of literacy promoting activities that you can do. I did my literacy promoting activity on The Haunting of Hill House, and again, the novel is scary. Reading it, my heart started pounding, face flushing, and I will say that it was a little hard turning off the lights going dark the other night after I finished the book. So again, it's a great read, and I do think that our students would enjoy reading the book. I think they'd also enjoy seeing the 1963 companion version. The one that was made in the 90s, the newer version of the Haunting, is not a good representation of the book. The plot is all over the place. The characters are all over the place. The characters are there in name only, in the house there's a character, but as far as the plot and the main character structure and how the characters interact and and the characters' roles within the plot do not really bode well in the new movie. I mean, it was enjoyable, but it just wasn't really tailor-made for the movie. So pairing those two up would be a great way to engage the classroom more with this novel. So that is all I have for tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing and seeing you guys soon.